let's recap the AFC Championship game played in Kansas City. The Chiefs beat the Bengals 23-20. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow went 26 of 41. He had 270 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. T. Higgins had 6 receptions, 83 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, he went 29 of 43. He threw for 326 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And MVS, former Packer, 6 receptions, 116 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. So with this playoff win, Patrick Mahomes, he has the most playoff wins before turning 28 in NFL history. He has 10 playoff wins before 28. That's more than Tom Brady with 9 and Ben Roethlisberger with 8. So first and foremost, as I watched the AFC Championship game, I want to talk about the officiating. The officiating was pathetic in the AFC Championship game. And it was a rough weekend for officiating because Sunday evening, as I watched the AFC Championship game and watched how terrible the officiating was, I was just thinking to myself, like, this is the reason why some people believe the NFL is rigged. I don't believe that, but the officiating was terrible. Remember, this is not even 24 hours removed from the NBA and their pathetic officiating in the Lakers-Celtics game where you have LeBron driving down the lane. He gets hacked by Jason Tatum. It was a clear foul. Clear foul. I'm not an NFL ref. I'm sorry, an NBA ref, but I would have been able to see that foul on LeBron James. Celtics and the Lakers go to overtime. The Celtics beat the Lakers in overtime. And not even 24 hours later, I'm watching the AFC Championship game, and I'm seeing bad call after bad call. And I'm looking at the game thinking, what the hell was going on? Let's start off with the play that happened when the Chiefs had the ball. It was 3rd down, and the Bengals stopped them on 3rd down. And I'm thinking, okay, it's time for the Chiefs to punt. And Mahomes runs to the sideline. And all of a sudden, a few seconds later, I see Mahomes running back on the field. And they replayed the 3rd down play. And I'm thinking, and I'm sitting there, mind you, I live here in the city of Cincinnati. So I'm around Bengal fans who are watching the game and around family. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? What the hell are we doing? How can you replay a play on 3rd down when the play was ran and the play was over with? How can you go back and replay that previous down? It made 0 sense. Thank God the Chiefs didn't score points on that drive. Thank God. The NFL would have had a major, major problem on their hands. Now, the officials said that they were trying to blow the play dead, but the play had already been ran. And I'm watching the game with Bengal fans, and I'm just thinking, if this was the Packers, how pissed I would be right now, where it's hard enough to stop Patrick Mahomes on 3 downs. You give him a 4th down, but it's not even 4th down. It's actually 3rd down and another opportunity to pick up a 1st down. It's insane. I hated that play. And then you fast forward to another play, which I had questions about. I didn't like the fact that they called on one of the last possessions for the Bengals. They called intentional grounding on Joe Burrow, but Sam Pirine was close to the football. Like, I didn't understand that call at all. I did not understand that call on Joe Burrow on the intentional grounding penalty because Pirine was in the vicinity of the football. Made no sense. I did not understand that particular intentional grounding play at all. Now, the last possession of the game for the Chiefs when they kicked the game-winning field goal, when Mahomes rolled out to his right, that was a late hit on Osai, the linebacker for the Bengals. That was a late hit, and that was the right call. Now, I made a status after the game talking about how, like, I know it's the right call, but I hate games being decided by penalties, even if it's the right penalty. Like, I love when games are decided on the field or on the court and how you perform, not a penalty. But it was the right call. That was a clear penalty on Osai that gave the Chiefs 15 more yards, and Buckner kicked the game-winning field goal for the Chiefs, and they ended up punching their ticket to the Super Bowl. But with all that being said, the Cincinnati Bengals did not lose this game because of the officiating. The Cincinnati Bengals had their opportunities to win this game, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, they had 2 possessions and a chance to kick a go-ahead field goal or even score a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Unlike Patrick Mahomes, who I'm going to get to here in a bit, Joe Burrow threw 2 interceptions that were very, very uncharacteristic for Joe Burrow. Threw 2 bad interceptions in this game. And unlike Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase. He had T. Higgins. He had Hayden Hurst and Joe Mixon in the backfield. So Joe Burrow had his weapons. Ladies and gentlemen, in the fourth quarter of the game, Patrick Mahomes, he didn't have Juju Smith-Schuster. He didn't have Kadarius Toney. He didn't have Mecole Hardman. They all had left the game with injuries. Okay? In the fourth quarter of this game, Patrick Mahomes was throwing to players the names of Sky Moore, Marcus Kemp, MVS, who had his issues in Green Bay, but I like MVS a lot. He had a great performance in this game, but that's who Patrick Mahomes was throwing the ball to in the fourth quarter of this game. The Bengals didn't lose this game because of officiating. The Bengals lost this game because Patrick Mahomes outplayed Joe Burrow. I hear so many excuses from Bengal fans, and I understand the frustrations because, again, the officiating was terrible in the AFC Championship game. But Joe Burrow and the Bengals had their opportunities. They had their chances, and they weren't able to capitalize on their chances and their opportunities. Defensively, I got to give a lot of credit to Chris Jones for the Chiefs. Chris Jones, he was the best defensive player on the field in the AFC Championship game. Chris Jones, he only had 3 tackles, but he had 2 sacks that he needed for the Chiefs to win this football game. And I thought that Chris Jones, he had an Aaron Donald-like performance in the AFC Championship game. We know Aaron Donald had a dominant performance in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. I thought Aaron Donald should have won Super Bowl MVP. I thought Chris Jones put on that type of performance. And I said he was one of the impact players going into the AFC Championship game. But with all that being said, Patrick Mahomes had a great performance on one leg. I thought Mahomes was sensational in this game, considering what he was working with. Again, the receivers that he had to work with in the fourth quarter, they weren't the receivers who were top 2 or 3 on the depth chart coming into the season. No Hardman, no Toney, no Juju Smith-Schuster. And Patrick Mahomes made these receivers that he played with, he made them good enough to be able to beat a Bengals team that from top to bottom is more complete than the Chiefs are. When you look at the Bengals and the Chiefs rosters, the Bengals have a more complete football team than the Chiefs do. They also have a better running game than the Chiefs do. In this game, the Chiefs had 42 rushing yards. 42 rushing yards. I heard all the NFL analysts and ESPN aficionados on ESPN, on Fox Sports, they talked about coming into the game how the Chiefs have to establish the running game with Isaiah Pacheco, and they got to win the line of scrimmage. And they didn't even have 50 yards rushing in this game. And Mahomes still was able to overcome the lack of a running game. And I look at what Patrick Mahomes has done in his career in the postseason. This is Patrick Mahomes' playoff career all-time ranks. His passer rating is 106.1. That's ranked first. He has 326 total yards per game. That's ranked first. He's completed 67% of his passes in the postseason. That's ranked first. His passing touchdowns per game is 2.5, which is also ranked first. His touchdown to interception ratio is 4.57, which is also ranked first. This is among quarterbacks with 12 starts in the postseason. So Patrick Mahomes is sensational in the playoffs. Let's go over Patrick Mahomes in his career as a starter since he's been the starting quarterback in Kansas City. His first year starting, 1 NFL MVP, 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And if it wasn't for offsides penalty, he would have gotten the Chiefs to the Super Bowl in his first season as a starter. 2019, he won the Super Bowl against the 49ers. The man overcame a 10-point deficit in the Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl MVP. And he was great in 2019 and 2020. He made the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They came up short in that game, but he made the Super Bowl in 2020. And then last year, he made the AFC Championship game. Every single year, he makes the AFC Championship. They might as well rename the AFC Championship the Patrick Mahomes Invitational because he's been in the AFC Championship game every single year since he's been the starter in Kansas City. And then this year, he's going to be playing against Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles have a more complete team than the Chiefs as well. But because the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, they got a legit chance to win another Super Bowl. And I can't say enough about the job that Patrick Mahomes has done since he's been the starter in Kansas City. And he's on a path to becoming the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, I know Tom Brady just retired yesterday, and we know how accomplished Tom Brady is. And Tom Brady winning 7 Super Bowls is something that we're not going to ever see happen again. So I'm not going to hold Patrick Mahomes to that standard. The one thing that Mahomes has over Brady is his talent. Patrick Mahomes is significantly more talented than Tom Brady ever was. And I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm a Packers fan. But even I can't deny the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. This dude is on another level, and he's different. He is different on one leg. One leg. That last play for the Chiefs before the penalty on Osai, that last play on one leg, Mahomes was able to roll out the pocket on the right side and get to the first down marker. And in that moment, that's where quarterbacks who are good become great. And quarterbacks who are great become legendary. And Mahomes made a legendary play on that third down because I think he gave the Chiefs everything he could for them to win that football game. And I think he knew if the game would have went to overtime, the odds would have been more in the favor of the Bengals winning than the Chiefs. The longer you play on a bum ankle, it's harder to continue to produce. And I think that he knew he had to get this game home in regulation for the Chiefs for them to have a chance to win the game. I think the longer the game went, if the game would have went to overtime, I think that would have been advantage Bengals. But again, Mahomes was sensational. He was great. And now he gets 2 weeks to heal that ankle injury. And I expect him to be close to 100% for the Super Bowl. I really, really do. But when I look at the Bengals and I look at them and their season being over with, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be competing for Super Bowls for the next 10 to 15 years because Joe Burrow has completely changed the culture in Cincinnati. You look at the Bengals postseason history. This is before Joe Burrow arrived. They were 5-14. They won 26% of their games. They had 2 conference championship appearances. And that 26% win percentage was the worst in NFL history through the 2020 season. Once Joe Burrow arrived in Cincinnati, the last 2 years, the Bengals are 5-1 in the playoffs. They win 83% of their games, and they have back-to-back conference championship game appearances. The culture has officially changed in Cincinnati. It really, really has. And I know Joe Burrow had a rough game with the 2 interceptions, but Joe Burrow usually plays well in big moments, in big games, even dating back to his days at LSU. So the Bengal fans, they have nothing to be ashamed of. The Bengals are going to be back next year. They're going to have to make some decisions on a few players, Hayden Hurst, Jesse Bates defensively, but the Bengals are going to be competing and contending in the AFC North and in the AFC for future seasons to come. They're going to be fine. They're going to be a good football team next season. They still got Jamar Chase. They still got Tyler Boyd. And I thought Tyler Boyd leaving this game was also key because once Tyler Boyd left the game, the Chiefs doubled Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So I thought the Bengals losing Tyler Boyd hurt them as well in the AFC Championship game. It really, really hurt them. Tyler Boyd went out with an injury, and I thought that hurt the Bengals because the Chiefs were able to key in on Chase and Higgins. But that play that Jamar Chase made, that 4th and 6 play that got the Bengals down close to the goal line against the Chiefs, that was a big-time play. And Jamar Chase in this game, he had 6 receptions, 75 receiving yards. That was a big-time play. And Jamar Chase, he has been great the last 2 years in the postseason for the Bengals. And a lot of people are talking about, okay, like, and I'm going to close up on this. People are talking about, like, the Bengals, they were trash-talking the Chiefs before the game. We saw Mike Hilton talking about we going to Burrowhead next week. And it was a lot of trash talk between these two teams. But the Bengals were definitely trash talking. I had no issue with it. I had no issue with the Bengals trash talking because this was a close football game throughout. It ain't like the Chiefs blew out the Bengals. This was a close game throughout. And if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes and his greatness making something out of nothing, this game was going to overtime. The Bengals showed up in this game. The Chiefs didn't dominate the Bengals. And in their last 4 matchups, the Bengals have beaten the Chiefs. So, hell yeah, the Bengals are confident going into an AFC Championship game because they just previously beat the Chiefs in their house in Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game the year prior. So, yes, the Bengals had a right to be confident and to trash talk the Chiefs. I love the trash talk. Don't bother me one bit. That's what sports is all about. So I didn't have no problem with the Bengals trash talking. Again, they backed it up because they only lost by 3 points. They only lost by 3 points in this game. But they are going home, and it's going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl next week. I'm going to talk about the NFC Championship out of the break. I'll be right back.